Welcome to the first ever episode of the KnightChat, first on air, your go-to podcast for everything FIRST robotics related and more, where each episode will center around a new topic and feature a different guest. This week's episode will be about managing an FRC team. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm your host, Chandra, a student on Team 195, the Cyber Knights. Who even are the Cyber Knights? FRC Team 195, the Cyber Knights, is Southington High School's first robotics team, based in Southington, Connecticut. This ship has been sailing for 28 years. Taking that, I'm going to segue into introducing today's guests, the two captains of this ship, Rob and Stacey Hilton. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Rob Hilton. I am currently the leader of the Cyber Knights along with my wife, Stacey.
Hi, I'm Stacey. I'm the lead mentor for the Cyber Knights and the senior mentor for the state of Connecticut.
Okay, so we're just going to get started right away. So first question, why do you guys volunteer your time with FIRST Robotics in the first place?
I think I've been asked this actually quite a bit because, in talking to new mentors and obviously as the lead of the team, you're often trying to recruit new mentors, so you have to give them a reason. And when they see all of the time that is given up and all the sacrifices, it's hard to convince them sometimes why to start doing this when they see what it's, what it entails. I think for me personally, I just see the benefit of what the program offers students and how they leave the team and go into the world, whether they're going to college or wherever they're going, with skills beyond that of their peers. I don't have children of my own by choice, but this is my way of, making a mark and hopefully impacting many people and helping them grow and be the best.
Yeah, it's a really great program that teaches a lot of skills to students that they wouldn't have access to otherwise. We also focus on trying to impart skills that students would learn in industry to try and give them a head start in their career. And those types of things certainly make it worth it for me to know that students are getting that kind of experience going forward into their lives as they graduate so that they're prepared for the world ahead.
Yeah, okay. So what do you guys, just choose one thing. What do you enjoy most about leading a team to kind of motivate, other people?
The kids. Anytime that I feel like I don't have enough time to do things or question the state of the world or anything, I think about the students and how, how they greet me when I walk in the door or at the shop or...
Yeah, they love you.
I love them. And how they, say goodbye to me and how I get to know, seeing prom dresses when they're purchased and photos after the prom and knowing when they have big tests coming up. And it's definitely, the kids are the absolute reason why I continue doing this.
It's definitely the students because honestly, there are a lot of responsibilities that come along with leading a team that aren't so fun, and that is a lot of work, and there are many things that I would certainly just enjoy more if I were just mentoring, working with the students, but it is really all about the students. The students make it all worth it.
All right. What do you guys want to see more of from the team? For now, we're going to talk about our team.
I want to see more robots. Our team, before I was even a part of it, already had a pretty big legacy and a lot of success. So in this town, our team is really something special that the town, the people in the community, the Board of Education, everybody knows about the robotics team. And so we do have high numbers of students that want to participate. And in the elementary schools and middle schools, it's really hard for us to keep up and provide enough teams that we don't have, you don't have to turn students away or, making sure that every student is on a team. And it is hard to sustain mainly with adults, finding enough people to run the teams. So I think I just want to see more robots everywhere, more Lego League teams, more FTC, more everything.
I agree with that. I would like to see us be able to provide even more teams throughout the town. We already provide tons, but it's just not
Yeah.
enough. There's so many students that want to sign up for them across all different age groups. For me personally, I really, from our team specifically, I just want to see more cohesion between all the departments. We've been working a lot on trying to improve project management and time management, and we're trying to figure out how to get everyone to work together so that we can create a more optimized timeline for producing a result for a robot. And that's something we've really been focusing on, and I would like to see that continue to improve.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, sorry, Stacey.
And if I'm being 100%, more money and more volunteers.
Yeah, it's money is a big one for us right now, especially because you know how things are with the economy and everything. Everything costs more, and typically people are willing to donate less because it's tough. So that's difficult for our team, but unfortunately because of that, the students suffer.
Yeah. That's actually a big question. You know, I've seen everywhere, like, how do we get more funding? How do we get more sponsorships? So do you guys have any tips for, you know, people, mentors and students on FRC teams?
I'll go first.
Well, yeah, Stacy's the sponsorship
Yeah.
expert.
Should have been looking at Stacey when I asked that.
I usually just write a check.
Yeah, he helps to spend it. I think we do a lot of things that, you know, I would recommend that teams do. We announce to all of the parents of students at the beginning of the year, and try to remind them that a lot of companies do employee matching, donation matching. So, it's really about just what you have to do is try to get people to realize that every single business, every organization can be a sponsor or a donor, even if it's not a huge amount of money. So getting parents to giving them the resources they need and making it easier for them to ask their employees. Like, we have a letter that basically says, I'm a parent of a student on the Cyber Nights, and we would love donations, and gives them the information, tells them we're a nonprofit organization. So kind of making it as easy as possible for people to do the job. We have business cards that students have that have a QR code on it, so that they can just scan it and have people donate. So I think that's a big thing, is if you have to convince people to donate to you and then also explain to them how to do it or make it difficult, it just adds a layer of that. So, and also not learning to not be afraid to ask everybody for money all the time is a big one.
Yeah, and they don't even have to be big names. I swear, like, half of the sponsorships that kids ask, like, to go to are always, like, businesses that are literally downtown in Southington.
Yeah, we have sponsors all the way from Otis and Lockheed Martin to, a pizza place down the street that's been giving to us for 15 years. So it could be anybody.
Yeah, it all makes a difference, and it's huge for us.
The other thing is to try to remember to stay in touch with your sponsors. A lot of teams will send out a sponsor plan and get the money and then maybe not follow through with all of the recognition. Or if you have a fundraiser that's taking place, even if it's just at like a local restaurant, remember to invite the sponsors, because they've already bought into it, so they might show up and do it. So just remembering to always include them.
Of course. So I'm going to drive us back to the topic of FIRST and read some of our other questions provided by Paul Coppola. How do you believe FIRST teams can drive excellence in robotics?
That is a tough one. From my opinion, I think the treating teams like actual teams and less like robotics clubs is a big one. So I don't think that, I think that sometimes people don't think of it as a team where, if you don't show up for something, there's repercussions or consequences. So often when I'm talking with other teams in my role as senior mentor, they'll say, well, we have 40 kids on the roster, but only like 10 show up to do the work. Or, and if you make that where it's not acceptable. Like there's accountability, and it's not just because you wouldn't hear that from a football coach saying, "Oh, we have 20 kids on the team and only 3 show up to play." Like that's not acceptable. You're a team, so really focusing on the team aspect of it. We do a lot of things. We're very lucky. We're lucky, and then but also it's luck that other people can use too. So learning to tap into resources. We have a mentor. Well, you mentioned Paul. So we have a parent. Well, he's a former parent of a student, and he's a mentor on our team, Paul. He does a lot of work with our students on public speaking, team building, team bonding, leadership, presentation. So he does a variety of things that maybe other teams don't really stop and think to offer to their students. But those are things that get the students on the team thinking about beyond just building a robot, how to talk about the robot, how to talk about the team. And that really gives us, I believe, an extra edge when we're talking, excuse me, when we're talking to judges. And so I think that really thinking of it as beyond just being a robotics club, but running it like a team or like a small business, and trying to really tap into resources that you might have, like in parents, if there's parents that might be able to step in and help with what roles that aren't usually associated with a robot team, like try to figure out ways to implement that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it is important to try and think of it like a small business, because one of the things that I mostly see other robotics teams struggle with is that they don't necessarily take it serious enough in a way. And the mentors and the students, I think that's not to say that you can't have fun, because we certainly have a great deal of fun here. It's just that it is a robotics competition. We are here to teach the children skills to use and compete, and not just compete in robots, but compete in life. And I think that it is a very serious topic. It's a very serious program, and you have to have accountability, responsibility, and the students have to want to learn and do well.
Of course. So how can teams promote the FIRST values?
I think that teams can promote the values of FIRST by just following it. It's really not, it's really no secret, not difficult to look at the values, the core values, and figure out what to do within your own team. Like I said, we do a lot of that stuff as far as like team building and team bonding and teaching them to work together and cooperate and do the right thing at all times. Also, always promoting FIRST. So, there's teams out there that may not even have challenge teams or, volunteer at events. So I think always making sure that teams step up when they have the ability to, to help local events and grow the program.
For me, I think it's more along the lines of, I don't even really consider the concept of promoting the values of FIRST. It's more along the lines of, we're going to do what we think is best. We're going to do what we think is right.
They should be like normalized.
Right. And that these are the things that like people should do who are good people, no matter what. It doesn't matter like if you're in FIRST or not. It's about
just everyday
being a good human. Yeah. Keep doing what you know is right.
Okay. So it is time for a cyber side chat. So our cyber side chat will be a random question that I have not pre-prepared for our guests. And these are completely unrelated to the topic. So you guys can go one at a time for this one. What is your favorite FRC game of all time and why? You guys can have time to think about it, of course.
I already got an answer.
Oh.
I liked 2018 First Power Up.
Okay.
And the reason I liked it is because Autonomous had such a huge, overwhelming balancing factor in the game. Mm-hmm. So if you won in Autonomous, you essentially won the match. And I think that wasn't always the case, but it was quite common. And I think that maybe made the game more predictable for spectators. And I think that was maybe people didn't like it who were just watching the match. But I'll tell you what, if you were on the team, it was pretty good. knowing
win.
that you were going to win the first 15 seconds in. It took away a lot of the stress.
I think I'm definitely one of those cheesy people that's like, oh, I like them all, except Recycle Rush. I really liked Power Up. I liked the beginning, with the stacking of the cubes and then seeing it balance. I liked that one. Aesthetically, I really liked Steamworks though, and I think I'm in the minority where I liked the student being on the field. Like that was a fun little aspect.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. I'd agree. I like Steamworks too.
I also think 2016 Stronghold deserves an honorable mention because as far as games go, I think that was one of the best games.
Yeah, but as far as field reset and takedown, it was absolutely brutal. So
Oh no, I understand
I'm
that.
traumatized.
Okay. So back into the topic of managing an FRC team, it's time for us to get into a little bit of advice for our teams out there because obviously we want to help as much as we can other mentors, other students, and even the alumni that are listening and want to get more involved with their FRC teams. So how can teams work hard while still having fun?
I feel like our students should answer that, and they're not here because I don't know. They have so much fun. We try to keep a balance, so it's like I regularly am saying like I want you guys to have fun here, but you also need to work, which they do. But I also believe that, and I'm gonna sound like I'm preaching, but I do think that a lot of our the way that our team interacts with each other has to do with the other activities that they do together, like the team building, and also we try very hard to anytime that there could be any kind of conflict, because when you have people, adults and teenagers working together in doing difficult tasks with a deadline, there's gonna it's not always pleasant, and issues can arise. So we try to address those head on from the start so that they don't fester. I think that it's we take ourselves pretty seriously. I think everyone that knows our team knows we take ourselves pretty seriously, but we also laugh at ourselves a lot, and that's just something we've recently started letting people see. So I think we're just still figuring it out, but we have fun all the time. I just don't know how to encourage it.
I mean, for me, I think it's a lot about forgetting the social norms, so to speak, with especially in high school with high school students and stuff, like different friend groups, different cliques and stuff, and all that stuff disappears here.
It really does.
And it goes to, we're all part of one team. We're all working towards a common goal. Mentors, students, everybody working side by side. And it becomes more like we're friends than teachers. And
definitely,
I think that that's important, and I think that it can go too far because I do think that there still needs to maintain respect there because we're still in a shop. If there's something going on, they need to listen so that the situation doesn't become dangerous. But I think that it is important to form a strong working relationship with everybody that is on the team, and I think that helps make it fun because then you're more building things with your friends rather than just working with someone next to you.
Right. I think a big part of it too is learning, letting mistakes happen and knowing that not everything is that serious. And also the students they followed the lead of the mentors, and our mentors happen to be a bunch of goofballs. So that works out. And when students know that they can be themselves and be comfortable and have a good time while doing something, I think that they just even do a better job.
Yeah, honestly.
I was just going to say that I also think that we certainly talk about, like I was talking earlier about, we need to take things seriously, but also I think that there are people who sometimes take the wrong things too seriously, like making a mistake. It's not that big a deal. They're kids, they're learning, they're going to make mistakes. We make mistakes all the time as mentors. It's important to understand that those are the kinds of things that they aren't that serious. It's okay. You're going to learn from your mistakes and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be part of the process, like we wouldn't, they're supposed to be learning how to build a robot. So if there was no mistakes, that would, that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, not everybody knows how to build a robot the second they walk into this shop.
Right.
So I agree. And also I agree with like how we're so comfortable with mentors, because there's one of our mentors, she's a teacher, and I'm so like, I forget that she's a 195 mentor and a teacher because I'm so casual with her. And then I'll see her at school and I'll call her by her first name and I'll be like, wait, that's like weird because she's a teacher. Okay, next question. What is one speed bump that our team has experienced in the past that you would caution other teams to try and avoid?
I'll deal with this one. I think that part of it can go back to the high school cliques. We have certainly experienced issues where tight-knit groups of students who are tight-knit outside of here have caused kind of integration issues with other students, and it's
Yeah.
kind of become like a preferential treatment thing. And a lot of this, it happens because high school students are high school students.
Yeah.
But that is something that absolutely cannot be allowed to happen. And when you are here, whether you like somebody or not, you will respect them and work with them. So I think that that's important. Honestly, both with students and mentors. It's not just the kids. The adults are a problem too. And unfortunately, many times adults are worse because adults have lived longer. They have a past, they're more opinionated so many times, and it's difficult. I think that's what I would say that's the biggest, hardest part of my job is just trying to get everybody to be nice and work together.
Yeah, I agree 100% with the managing the people is much more difficult than building a robot. And you have a lot of people, a lot of opinions, and that can be problematic. I would say that from another thing is a failure to prepare ahead, like planning ahead. And one thing that we do, and I know this is different for every team and the resources, but not having enough support and making sure that you are always recruiting people and always recruiting mentors, so that you're, even if it's a mentor who's not specializing in something in particular, just so that your other mentors have support. So that's something that I think like we've had, if we lose mentors, whether it's due to life circumstances or, moving, whatever it may be. But I think just always thinking down the road and being prepared and not thinking, oh, I have X amount of mentors, this is fine. Because as soon as you feel that it's comfortable, you're going to, find out one is moving to the other side of the earth or something.
Yeah.
So always thinking ahead and trying to bring people into the fold.
Many things I think also do come down to a relation to respect. And I think a lot of things in the world nowadays are more people just don't respect one another. Like, oh, you have an opinion, I don't agree with you, I don't respect you. And that's not okay. So here we work really hard to teach people to respect each other, even if you don't agree with them. And additionally, I think that one of the driving factors for... see, now I've lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Want me to wait for it to come back to
I would like it to come back because I thought it was quite relevant and good, but, it happens.
Honestly, just interrupt me at any point and we'll get back to that thought, because it seems like you got a good one in there. But Stacey, I want to expand on what you were talking about earlier with recruiting mentors. How do you guys I know a lot of mentors come and go through here because they are alumni or because they have like connections, but how would you suggest that teams recruit mentors?
So we do a lot of begging. That works. Sometimes we trick them. I'm kidding. I'm serious, but I'm kidding. I would recommend that you always reach out to sponsors. And I know that a lot of times mentors will hesitate to reach out to a sponsor because they're afraid to bring somebody onto the team that they don't really, know if they're going to work well together, or, if they're going to be overly opinionated or anything. And if you're in a school, if you're working in a school, the school's going to most likely do a background check on the person and all of that before they get started. So that's an aspect you don't really need to concern yourself with. But as far as not being able to work with somebody or being afraid they're going to have different views than you, that goes back to what Rob was saying. You know, like, you need people and you can learn to work together. But I have often heard people say, like, well, I don't want to just ask this sponsor company because I don't know what we'll get, you know, and, you know, what you're going to get is a adult that saw an opportunity to volunteer in the community and took it, you know, and so you should take advantage of that. So I think always reaching out to sponsors, especially relevant sponsors, you know, like if you have a welding company that, you know, that sponsors you for $500, like, reach out to them, ask them if they have anybody that might be interested in volunteering. Always be reaching back out to alumni, even to alumni's parents. We do social media posts sometimes saying that we're looking for mentors. We also have it on our website. So I think just always being aware and talking to people. It's at the point now where if I am talking, because I know what areas our team could use more mentors. So if I meet somebody or hear that they even remotely know somebody that I think could fill a gap, I'm like, oh, you think you could introduce me? So it's, you know, something that you should always be thinking of.
Yeah, and I also, like, I'll ask my coworkers at work for if they're interested or if they know anyone who's interested in whatever area to volunteer and mentor, even if it's not with our team sometimes for other teams. Yeah. I'm constantly trying to get people involved in FIRST Robotics because I do think it is a really great program. And one of the things that has been for us that helped a lot with recruiting mentors is just seeing which parents get involved and try and bringing them around more. You know, and as I say this, one of our parents is over there doing work on one of our compressors to get it running so that we can cut more parts tonight. You know, and that's kind of that's just how it is. You know, that's been our biggest feeding factor for mentors has been people who have been parents who have been interested, who we've snagged.
Right. We have one of the two people that drives our trailer regularly, and one of them that stores our trailer at his house is a former parent whose child is now in college, and he still comes here and volunteers and
runs, you know, all our IT.
Yeah, does everything. He gets lots of tasks. But he wasn't a mentor originally. He was a parent, you know, just a parent on the team. And I would also recommend always doing sponsor demos. And I hear from an alarming amount of teams that don't do that or don't offer it. But whether you bring your robot and some students to a sponsor and do a presentation, say during their lunch hour or at an event they're doing, or if you invite them into your shop, whatever it is, people hear like robotics competition, high schoolers, and they think one thing, but when they actually see the students and see them like in their team shirts with their robot or working on machines, like if you can get them in their shop and they see these kids working on machines, especially for people who maybe don't have kids, or I think it's just
never what they think.
Yeah, it's not ever what they think. You know, like when they walk in and see students, you know, being so capable and confident in you know, running a shop, it's impressive. And the right kind of person will see that and ask, like, how can I be a part of this? Like, this is cool. How can I help them? So I would say sponsor demos. The more time that you could spend talking to sponsors and companies, the better.
Yeah, and I'd say invite sponsors into, like, directly into your shop. I think you mentioned that earlier, because we've definitely done shop tours around here with sponsors.
And competitions. You should invite them to the competitions too.
Yeah, they really love seeing competitions. I know our state rep and other other members of like our board of ed, they always come to our competitions.
Yeah, our superintendent comes.
Yes, and they love seeing them too. I hear them talk about it, and they really like coming to these robotics events, because it's like when you hear robotics, like, what do you really think at first? You don't think like this full-fledged arena full of kids watching a bunch of robots like do tasks on the field. It's really cool to see, because that's definitely not what I expected when I first joined the team.
Me neither. My younger brother, who's a mentor, was on a team in high school, and my mom asked me to go to one of his competitions with them, and I was like, probably not. And then I went, and by the end of the day, I was like jumping up and down cheering, and I never would have expected that to be the case whatsoever. And ever since then, I've been around. But I think that what we were just talking about with, getting more engaged with your sponsors and inviting them to things and doing demos is important. And it reminded me that back to like the fundraising, and it's all really about connecting with the people, because we have a gala that we do every year, and we invite sponsors, but if you give a certain amount of money, you get tickets comped to you. Sponsors get tickets. And last year we had one of our sponsors show up. It was actually the company that does our powder coating, who's local. Anodizing. Sorry, we do our own powder coating. My bad. So it's a company that does our anodizing in town. And they came, and he brought a guest, and they participated in the raffles, and they had a great time. And so it's really just about remembering to always include the people who have already given you stuff.
Yeah, definitely community support is a big fact. If I would say like one big takeaway from this episode, community support.
Yes.
Is all I've been hearing.
Yes.
Rob, this question is for you. So you've been on the team since like the beginning of time. Can you expand on how you've seen the team develop?
So, believe it or not, I haven't been on the team since the beginning of time. There was a beginning of time before me. So I started mentoring the team in 2013, and at that point, honestly,
Beginning of time.
it already had such a strong foundation because of the people that came before me. So there was already so much infrastructure in place. They had already had a wonderful sponsorship program. They already had a great team of mentors who had mechanical support, all different kinds of support. One thing that was not weak, but was the weakest of the categories, I would say, was the programming and sensor area of the team. And I think that is not necessarily to speak against the mentors that would mentor that at the time, but the technology wasn't there. Yeah. So one of the things that the team has really grown through is just the improvement of using sensor technology and all different kinds of things in the robot. And I know that's probably not the answer to the question that you wanted, but
no, it could have been literally, the answer could have been anything, any part of the team, really.
So, but in so many ways, I think that the team has expanded and improved. And one of the things that we have now that we didn't have as strong back then was our business department, and that's been continuing to grow every year. We always now we're doing so many new things that we never used to do. Look at us now,
we're hosting a podcast.
Right, exactly. And certainly these are nothing that I attribute to myself in any way, because I don't deal with that at all, but I do these are huge things that the team has improved upon over the years, which is really, really awesome. I find also one of the things that we've improved upon are our in-house manufacturing capabilities. That's been big for us this year, especially since one of the things we've seen are a lot of other teams outpacing us in in-house manufacturing ability over the years. Like, we used to be able to manufacture all different kinds of parts that other people were like, oh, wow, we could never make this. But over the years, we've fallen behind to the point where our machines are old. And it's crazy how different things are now. So one of the things that we've really been focusing on over the past few years is trying to improve our in-house manufacturing capabilities, implementing more CNC technology, trying to train students on CNC, just updating our machinery, trying to come up with new build processes, all different kinds of stuff like that. And that has been truly great as well. I think that we're not there yet. We have a long way to go in that area, and there's always going to be room for improvement there. It's never going to stop, but we certainly do have a long way to go in that aspect still.
Yeah, I'd say I agree. 2 final questions, and then I'll let you go back to your work, I promise. What is one of your proudest moments as a mentor? It could be from literally any point in time. Just one specific moment you'd say it's like memorable.
One. There's so many. I think for me, I would not have guessed this a couple of moments ago. Like, this just hit me. We have an FRC team, obviously, and we have 2 FTC teams. And in Connecticut, in New England, the FTC was holding a premier event. I forget what it was called exactly.
It was like a scrimmage.
No, it was the one that was at DCMP.
I cannot remember, but
it was an
continue on
FTC
anyways.
competition at DCMP and at our district championship, which takes place at the Big E Fairgrounds. So there's a lot of buildings. So our FTC teams were competing at this, one building over, and our FRC teams were competing. Our FRC team was competing, and at the end of the day, a lot of the kids were really anxious, the FRC students, to get on the bus and leave. And we were like, well, you can't, because the FTC students are still competing. And our whole team went over to the FTC competition. And in this area, I don't know how it is everywhere else in the world, so I know it differs. But in New England, FTC competitions don't get quite as high-spirited as FRC competitions. So it was kind of quiet in the stands. There was not a lot going on. It was just, you basically heard the sounds of the match, and that was it. And our team just took over the whole atmosphere. We have a lot of students, and they were in the stands, and they were cheering, and they were so loud. And one of our FTC teams made it into the finals, and it was really, I think that everybody else that had been there in the stands prior to that was like, what just happened here? And they were dancing, and it really made me proud to see them go from being like tired and wanting to go home after a long day of competition to being, to cheering for their peers and the younger students on the team. It was just, I felt really proud. I just stood there and took video of it. It was exciting.
I'd say my proudest moment was from my first big year mentoring on the team, which was 2015, where I was the lead programming mentor. And the moment I think that I felt proud was really when we were in St. Louis at the time for World Championships. Mm-hmm. And our kids that I had worked with all year making the robot dressed up and went off to RoboProm. And it was just like, kind of melted my heart, so to speak, seeing them. Aww. And it was just, I was so proud of them that like they were these little people that were.
I've never heard this. So
yeah, I was proud of them. It was really nice.
There's so many proud moments though. Like it's really hard to pick just one. Like easily 15 come to mind, and they're like big ones, from students winning Dean's List to, competitions, or even just little things that happen in the shop.
Of course. So, final question. Any last pieces of parting advice for our listeners out there?
I remember what I was going to say before, so I'll put that in my parting advice. And this goes to, I think, mentors and students, but especially mentors, in that we talked about respect being a big part, but respect isn't something that's given. Respect is earned. Mm-hmm. So if you aren't doing anything and you're not showing up for these kids, and you expect that they're going to respect you when you haven't earned it, you're going to be sadly disappointed. And I think that that's going to also manifest in those students aren't going to perform as well for you with building robots or whatever, because they're not invested in the program because they feel like you don't care about them. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a big thing. And I think that I do feel that is a big thing that a lot of teams struggle with, is that there are people who are trying to just barely get by, and they're not really invested in it, and they're not really invested in their students' futures to the point where they earn that respect.
I would agree with Rob, and I think that a big part of it goes back to community, which you mentioned we say a lot of. But I would say that getting the most people involved that you can and trying to think outside of the box, and really, again, making sure to focus on sponsors, making sure to focus on trying to find parents that might be interested in helping. But the more that you feel supported and as a mentor, and the less that you have to, if you have a mentor who has to remember to, rally the kids around to do impact and has to submit dean's lists, but also has to remember to order parts and then register the team for events and also build a robot, that's too much. So trying really hard to get your team out there, and it involves a lot of things from after every competition or after kickoff, writing a press release and sending it out, and just making sure that everybody always knows what you're doing. So I would say that that's my biggest thing, is to just try to find ways that you can engage with your community in the off season so that you have more people to support you and do your best with the students in the on season.
I'd agree. And I just want to thank you, too, for all the great and lovely advice that you've given us in this episode. And unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. But before we end the episode, I have something really, really important to say, which would be to check out our socials. You can follow us on Instagram at FRC Team 195 on Instagram, FRC Team 195 The Cyber Knights on Facebook, and check out our website, team195.com. If you also have any questions, comments, topic ideas, or if you want to be on the podcast, email us at business@team195.com. I'm Chandra, your host, and thank you for listening to this first episode of The Night Chat, first on air, and see you next episode.